Let's go. Post-draft show. We're going to let the intro kick for just a second. 2022. Hope everybody happy with their team. We're going to get into it. All right. 2022 Justice League Draft. We have concluded it. So now is where we have our fun. The man of the hour got to be Corey, man. Talk to me, Corey. What's going on?
Oh, shit.
Disrespectful, but I allow it. Oh. Tell you what, you got to be real careful out there in those waters, man. Real careful in those waters. Y'all who said I needed some help, and they decided to help me.
What the heck happened?
Listen, man, I had I think it was Garrett Wilson first. That would be I had selected, and they said I needed a kicker, so they went with kicker. You know, it's like coach GM. We're trying to get that relationship right, but not all the way there. Then the next round I had Henderson. I needed a running back with a different bye week. I said, okay, Henderson, I'll ride with you. And they decided I need to go ahead and get a defensive player at that position. I said, a little high for my liking, but I'll allow it. So it's just par for the course for me, man. You know, I'm just here just to be the butt of everyone's jokes. It's all good. Maybe I should have named my team Can't Catch a W.
Corey's Impeccable Warriors. That'd have been good.
Yeah, I should have said God's Son or something.
You throw God in there, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, man, but it's okay. You know, fantasies got me fifth, so I can work with that. And I'm pretty sure Rick could give me some players that'll be good for 2 weeks and they'll die by week 7 or something. Or retire or something.
They'll
fall out the league by week 7. So good old Rick trades. I'm ready for it. He'll win me 2 weeks though.
All right, Corey. Let's look and see what you got. So we'll just run down your squad. We'll go squad by squad. So you got Derek Carr as your quarterback. You took Jamar Chase. I was praying that he was going to fall to me because he's just super safe, top 4 player in my opinion. And you got him there. That's a tremendous pick. I love that pick. You got Deontay Johnson. Hopefully his shoulder's good. Probably will be because he always comes right back after getting banged up.
Yeah.
And you got a sneaky guy here, Javonte Williams. I think Denver wants that back room to belong to him. And he's going to be good. You got Breece Hall. A lot of hype on Breece Hall. What were you thinking with Breece Hall?
Sleeper. I want to see what he was going to do, especially with Zach. Is Zach Wilson? How much longer is he going to be out? I'm not sure.
2 weeks, I thought. 2 weeks. He should be back soon.
I just figured they'd start leaning on him a little bit heavy at the beginning of the season, and then maybe he'll catch some steam, and there'll be a pick that I can get for good value that'll turn to a stud for me. So I took a chance there. And plus, you know, with the running backs, man, if you don't get one of those tight flat guys, top 2, tier 1, tier 2, if you can't snatch a couple of them up within the first 2 rounds, it's slim pickings after that. You got to be real shrewd with your choices. So I took a flyer on it.
Okay, and then we're going down the list a little bit. We got D. Waller, tremendous pick at the tight end spot. What type of season do you think Waller's going to have this year?
Yeah, don't like the Adams. That's going to eat in some of his targets, but I think, you know, it's just him. It's Adams. You got Renfro there. You've got Waller. Waller's a safety blanket, and I always love much like a Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, somewhere there. Good safety blanket for a QB just to dump it down to when all else fails. So, and then when you got one of the top tight ends in the league, you can't go wrong with that. Normally, I don't draft the tight end until later, but I was just trying, especially with the way the picks were going. I mean, this is one of the wildest drafts out of all the drafts I've done this year. And I started back in, I want to say May, just doing mock drafts. Rick, you know, I was hitting you up trying to get you to do a couple with me. Yeah. And I've never seen the selections that I saw tonight.
Yeah, we saw some Wile E. Coyote going.
If you got somebody out there that's better than the wide receivers and the running backs that are available that can give you that production, you go ahead and snatch them up. So,
all right, your double flex, you went with Darnell Mooney. Love that pick. If the Bears line can hold Justin Fields, that's his favorite guy out there. I know Eddie, you were big on Mooney last year. So he's nice. And then Stevenson, that's going to be an interesting battle between him and Damian Harris in New England. A lot of late buzz on Stevenson kind of taking that job over. So I like what you got at the flex. I think that could be sneaky good right there.
I'm hearing I've read that Harris is kind of falling out of favor a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Talking about trading him.
So I was like, hey man, listen, let's go ahead and get Stevenson. If he becomes the bell cow, and he catches out the backfield, you can't lose with that.
Well,
and
looking at your
quarterbacks though.
Looking at your bench, it's it's death, taxes, and Corey having multiple Atlanta Falcons on his team. And the first two I see are Drake London and Mr. Algier at the running back. I know we talked about Algier at the running back spot. You like what you're hearing down in Atlanta because I know you're in there. You're hearing it every day with Sports Talk Radio there. You like what you got going with Algier in London. I mean, London speaks for itself. He's a top receiver in the draft. And him and Pitts could be some serious damage going down the stretch there. So what were you thinking when you wanted to build your bench here?
Well, at this point, they've stolen 2 picks from me. So I had to go with what I know, right? So I know the Falcons. I know the roster. I know how they're building it. I know who the targets are going to go to. Mariota, I'm not sold on. I do like what he's done in preseason. I hear all the hype, but he's got to give it to somebody. They like Algier in the backfield, especially with this last preseason game, kind of solidify his place. They're going to use Cordell a little bit less this year and usher him in to taking some more of maybe those early down runs and then the goal line touches. So Cordell becomes actually de facto flex in fantasy leagues because he's just going to move all over the place more than he did last year where he was primarily running out the backfield. As far as London, I mean, like I said, you can't just throw it to Pitts every time. You got to spread the ball to someone else. It's got to go to London. You got just 6'5" frame out there playing basketball on 5'10", 6'1" guys. So take your chances there. The only issue is, like I said, those 2 picks threw me for a loop because I had to start moving some of these bye weeks around because I'm gonna get killed week 10, week 14 automatically, unless I make some magical trades or some picks off the waiver wire, which in a 14-man league, it's gonna be hard to find somebody. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and I hear you. I love those first 2 picks, though, especially the London. I think Algier could be sneaky. You went down there and you got Jacoby Myers. If Jacoby Myers scored touchdowns, Jacoby Myers would be a serious problem. And then when you made
let me start right here. I love my man Parker, right?
Yes.
I've had him for like the last, 2, maybe 3 years, but I've seen the decline. The injuries always take a toll. He never lasts for me. So I say, you know what, let's go with Myers and see if Myers can get the production that Parker. So I just flipped the coin on that.
Okay. And then in Dotson trade, we probably talked 3 or 4 times about Jahan Dotson in Washington. When I saw that pick, I was like, Corey, for those of you who don't know, you're new to the Justice League cast or some of the old members, you know what Corey does on the waiver wire. I called him Waiver Wire Shorty. 3 years running, he's the waiver wire champion. And so he has a very good knack for finding value. He found Cordell Patterson. Before anybody knew anything about him, Cordell Patterson had a monster year in 2021. So when I seen Dotson, I said, here we go again. This is a guy that, depending on how he grows with Wentz, could have a serious productive year. I know Trey and I talked about him. When I seen that pick, I was like, Corey's making up for them picks that he lost. So that was a great pick there. What were you thinking when you drafted him?
Well, they solidified him as a number 2 outside of Scary Terry. So it's going to be some volume to be had there. I mean, Gibson. Who's the other guy back they got out there that actually competed with Gibson?
The one that got shot today?
Yeah. Junior. Robinson Jr.
Yeah, Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Speedy recovery to him.
Before that incident, that was one of my targets for a sleeper. And then Dotson was the second one in regards to, just that team alone. But like I said, you got to throw the ball somewhere. You can't just target Terry, McLaurin everywhere. So if Dawson is making his presence known in camp and in practice, then you go with him, let him get some volume. I don't waste the pick. You know what I mean? I'm not going too super high. I'm not reaching for him. So if he turns out to be something spectacular, almost like Chase and Higgins in Cincinnati, where both of them can eat. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, let me come back down here. I see that you got Zamir White. I like that pick. I've been reading a lot of stuff about Jacobs. in the Las Vegas backfield. And Zamir White's name came up a lot. I know you're a Georgia Bulldog. Congratulations on your national championship. I know y'all was really grinding to get it. Y'all got it. So you got yourself a Bulldog down there and Zamir White. And I like that pick. It's not going to show right now in projection. I mean, we're week 0, not even week 1 yet. But that's a guy, and we all know running backs. I mean, we scratch and claw to try to get these backs all year long. And I think you got one there that might turn up roses for you at the end. And then Gerald Everett, that's a guy that you have on your team, I think 2-3 years running now. So that's a nice little backup tight end.
Yes.
Talk to me about your man. I mean, you really put some draft capital into this next pick, man. Tyler Bass. Kicker, Buffalo. I mean, talk to me about that one. Or should I ask you?
White popped on the screen, man, when I watched one of the Raiders preseason games. I love the way he was running. Strong runner. He had some speed to him. One cut, he was ready to go. Now, this Bass fellow, I've never heard of him before. And then he's on my team. And, I'm the feature commissioner of the Justice League in order to get some of that money back. You recoup some of them funds I spent on the deposit to join the league because I think that's some bull. But, it is what it is. If he turns out to win me some games, hey.
And I'm not sure. I don't know really who C.J. Moore is.
I have no idea who C.J. Moore is.
But he's not projected to ever score. So that's probably a problem.
Yeah. The great thing is, when I went back on my screen, I went to the defensive players, IDP, right? And I saw Aaron Donald's name sitting right there. I said, what? And that's who really came in and said, who is this?
Let this guy lead the league in interceptions. You're going to look like a genius.
Yeah. Sure. That won't happen. So anyway, C.J. Moore is available for trade if anyone is interested, along with Kyla Bass. I got a nice package for you. Can't beat it.
All right, so we're gonna go down the list. Let's go over to cousin Eddie. Talk about his team. Jalen Hurts, man, super popular pick at quarterback. Were you getting nervous when you saw those quarterbacks start falling off the board, or were you confident that your man was going to be there?
No, I already went in the draft wanting Jalen. I actually had Jalen and Aaron Rodgers as a backup later on. He wound up going round 9. But when I seen Jalen sitting there, he really had to take him. I reached for him a little bit for my liking, but he was mine for the taking. I couldn't wait any longer. So, absolutely.
Yeah, there's been so much coming out about Jalen having a monster year this year. So you may be in line for a whole lot of points. Obviously, you got a monster sitting there, and Justin Jefferson, he failed to you. Most people have him as either WR1 or 2, depending on how you feel about Cooper Kupp. I would say with what's going on in LA with those injuries and all the stuff they got going on, probably a hangover from a Super Bowl, I would probably have Justin Jefferson as number 1. So I think you have the best receiver in fantasy football here. So how much? Yeah.
I feel like, I don't want to. First of all, Cooper Kupp doesn't get nearly enough respect for what he did last year. I feel like I've seen lists these analysts put out. They top 5 wide receivers, and his name's not even on it. I don't understand how Tyreek is there or guys like Devo are there. You don't have a Cooper Kupp list. So let's clear that up. He's definitely top 3 coming into this year. But Justin Jefferson, I feel like he's still hungry. Cooper might be fed and fat right now. He got his ring, he's got his money. With the elbow thing going with Stafford, it was an easier pick for Justin Jefferson, in my opinion.
Okay, and I see you flanked him with Mike Evans, and I know how Anthony Porterfield, he's not on here. I know how he feels about Mike Evans. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Quietly, Mike Evans had like 8,000-yard seasons in a row. He's got the greatest quarterback in most opinions to ever play the game, throwing him the ball. You've got injuries going for Tampa Bay with Gage, and you've got an injury to Godwin to start the season off. I mean, you talk about volume, it's going to be eardrum bursting loud for Mike Evans. So with Jefferson and Evans, man, I would not want to play you early. Did you want to go receiver heavy at the top of this draft?
I actually did. Mike Evans, I didn't feel like he was going to that he was actually my first wide receiver off the board. So I never think when I pick Jefferson that Mike Evans will fall to me. I'm not sure why he did, but I had a hard time. I was either going to go him and Tyreek actually shot up my board really high yesterday. I seen some things going on with him and Tua. I'm like, okay, maybe he's got over wanting to shoot, dink and dunk all game. Maybe he'll go long. It's looking a lot like Pat Mahomes, just like Tyreek said. So we just went ahead with Mike Evans, just in case. I feel like Tyreek he might get injured. I know Mike Evans dealing with the hamstring again, unfortunately, but he's going to shake that off. Tommy Boy's coming back. We're going for 50 this year.
Well, one thing about Mike Evans is that Mike Evans is a warrior. He'll play hurt. So, I mean, he usually doesn't sit it down for more than a game, if that. Looking at your top two running backs, man, you got a guy that really been shooting up a lot of boards. Travis Etienne Jr. missed all of last year with an injury. He's back. His boy, they won a national championship at Clemson. Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback. You feel like there's got to be synergy. Etienne is a monster coming out of the backfield. We are a full PPR league and an explosive kicker PPR league. So did that factor into your drafting of Etienne?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I still wanted Mike kind of shotgun me with James Robinson. I wanted a 1-2 punch. I didn't want to draft Etienne without having James Robinson on my team as well. But one pick ahead of me, Mike grabbed me, and that was kind of the downer of the draft. He only got me once, but that one was enough to sting everything. But Etienne has always been on my draft board, man. He's more like a wide receiver. He catches a lot of passes, and so to me, his ceiling is high. His floor is a little bit lower as well, but his ceiling is tremendously high. And along with James Cook, I wanted to have two of those type. Jerick McKinnon, Christian McCaffrey Juniors, right? 2.0s are great value. Christian McCaffrey's on my team, so yeah, that's how I went there. That's how I came across that.
Okay, you touched on James Cook. Really like him. Buffalo's got to figure out what they're going to do at the running back. But James Cook down on your bench, he's an extremely versatile Georgia Bulldog. You know the Bulldog guys, so you got one in there, just like Corey got Zamir White. So y'all staying true to your college allegiance. I see David Montgomery in there, man. That's Mike's guy. Mike might be in your inbox for him. Mike loves him some money. Nice pick there. I mean, they've been talking about getting Herbert involved some more, but Montgomery, I mean, the eye test is just an A+ for that guy. I mean, that guy gives phenomenal effort, can catch the ball, tough in between the tackles. We have a kicker this year in our league for first downs. And when I think of David Montgomery, I think of that kicker coming into play. That guy runs hard. He gets to the sticks. He gets first downs. Probably a lot of hidden value there. What were you thinking when you drafted him?
Yeah, so that's what it was for me. There's a lot of explosiveness. I've seen that he didn't lack explosiveness. He got injured pretty good last season. I think I drafted him last year as well. And so, we run it back. We gave him another shot. But he got injured a good amount. But when he came back, he still had his explosiveness. I feel like they're going to do a lot of running. They don't have very much depth at wide receiver out there in Chicago. You got Justin Fields. He is obviously going to be a number one runner. He runs a 4.4. He's a big, tall guy, strong arm. So the defense is going to be sitting back a little bit. Hopefully, David Montgomery can get a few of those touches as well. Maybe some out of the backfield in the flats. That's where he usually likes it. But I needed something that he also runs hard and can get the first down for me. So hopefully we can punch some of those in, and the ones that Justin Fields doesn't snag from me.
I see that you went with one tight end here. You're one of the few guys that doubled up on your IDP, but you got two doggone good ones. But your tight end is Pat Freiermuth from Pittsburgh, man. He had a heck of a season. How confident are you in Freiermuth, and does the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh worry you at all?
No, actually, it's better. I went coming in. I actually think he's probably going to break out next year. I think he's just now getting to his stride. But with those both of those quarterbacks in Pittsburgh, they don't really have a big, strong arm. They don't have a lot of down the field type of action coming that way. So I hope that Pat, they call him Moose, is on the loose, right? So I hope that he gets that thing in the touchdown couple of games. I think he can have a couple of two touchdown games, to be honest, this year. He's really broke out last year from his target share, to be honest, in that offense. So
looking down at your, I'll just cover all three of these guys in a row. Man, you cleaned up at your flex area with receiver. Looking at Rashad Bateman, number one target for Baltimore. I know your rivals got Lamar Jackson. That's going to be an interesting little matchup there. Then you got Mr. Moore out of New York with the Jets. A lot of people don't know Elijah Moore between, I think it was week 7 and 13, was number 4 in fantasy overall as a receiver. And super huge value there. If they get that quarterback position, if Zach comes in there and he can get healthy, man, that could be some serious damage. And then you got Lazard. Lazard, I believe, is the number 1 currently in Green Bay. So talk about this trifecta of receivers down there. These all look interchangeable. They look like they're going to be a problem.
That's right. So all of those guys definitely interchangeable. I went with fringe wide receiver ones. I don't think these guys are going to be a top 12 guys, but they are one wide receiver ones in their team. Right, you got Rashad Bateman, like you said, with the departure of Hollywood. He definitely steps up. He showed a little flash last year. I was like what I saw there. I actually traded for him last year with Joe. And sent him Darnell Mooney, being that he's a Bears fan. That worked out. It was an easy trade. Alan Lazard is definitely, he's the only one with any passes. He's the only one caught a pass on that wide receiver roster from his quarterback, from Aaron Rodgers. So it's a no-brainer there for me. He's a big guy. Aaron Rodgers trusts him a lot more than the rest of the guys. And I've seen him, of course, his interview where he was dogging the wide receiver core out there to get better, so on and so forth. So he left conveniently Alan Lazard's name out of there. So, to me, that was an uptick in his draft stock. And Elijah Moore kind of just fell to me. I really like Garrett Wilson, but, there was no way that I would be able to get him at pick 90 when I wanted to, when I got wide receivers. So I went ahead with Elijah Moore just because he's already a pro. There's no real reason, rhyme or reason I went with him. But the fact that he's already been in that offense, he's already familiar with Robert Saleh and stuff, got to say. And, hopefully that can pan out his favor.
Yeah, that's a scary trifecta receivers down there, especially having one of them on your bench in a double flex. Well, we already talked about Cook. Then you came with some interesting picks at the running back with Henderson Jr. That's a nice pick. I know a lot of the Rams are banged up now, but this is a guy who was running like an RB2, fringe RB1 for a couple of weeks last year. And then you went with a speed guy. I know you're a track guy. I know you ran at Louisville, so you have a good respect for speed. I like the Mostert pick. If he can get a consistent role in there, did you want to have a speed guy, given the explosive kickers in the league? Did you want to have a speed guy on this roster?
Absolutely. If you notice, that's the only one, right? Most of these guys can catch passes all day, things of that nature. But I really wanted a piece of the running back room from Miami, and I think most of it's going to be the guy back there. Being that he came from San Francisco with their head coach, I forget his name now, Mike, or is it Daniels? I can't forget his name now, but being that he came from that system, never used a lot of that zone run, so I decided to go with him as well. And Daryl Henderson, he's just kind of like a handcuff. Cam Akers got hurt with that Achilles, and when he came back, he just didn't look like the same guy. He was hitting tough. Man, he put it on Buda Baker in that playoff game. Holy cow. Knocked him flat out. I hope he
KO.
I hope he recovered well from that. Didn't face any concussive problems, things of that nature. But yeah, for the most part, Daryl Henderson, he's just a guy, man. You got to have him on the team as long as he has a jersey. So that was mostly like a handcuff, just in case Cam Akers goes down. I don't think it's very much, but
I see you scooped up Matt Ryan as your backup quarterback in Indianapolis. He's got some good targets out there. He's got a great running game. So, I mean, he seems like a pretty safe guy. They should have a lot of scoring opportunities. How important was backup quarterback for you?
Yeah, so 14 men, right? On those positions where you roster one, I feel like it was real important for me not to forget to get a backup. I didn't see any tight ends out there that I felt like should deserve a roster spot in terms of the impact on the game because of how many wide receivers that I drafted. But I did see that we can go ahead and do 2 IDPs and then do 2 quarterbacks as well, just in case of injury. Man, it's crazy. You got to if everybody out there, I'm not sure that there's 28 rostered quarterbacks that you can that have fantasy relevance. So, that was a no-brainer. You have to get you a guy that hopefully is, not at the downfall of his career and hopefully still has a little arm left in him.
All right, and then wrapping you up, you got Ryan Suckup, kicker from Tampa, a lot of points opportunity there. And then you've got 2 defensive players. Got Luke Wilson, linebacker out of Cincinnati, big-time stat guy. And then, of course, you got Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, one of the most defensively dominant guys in the last 10 years in the league. So how we're doing IDP, it's new. I know you studied the scoring system. You looked at that. When the first players for the defenders started coming off the board, were you thinking tactically that you still wanted – was Donald your guy, or did you have some other guys lined up?
No, I had some other ones lined up. I really wanted to go linebacker early. It didn't fall that way. That was when I was, let Yahoo lagged a little bit with the secondary app that I was using. So when it was my turn to pick, he had already been selected. So I just went ahead and went different. Shifted in the middle of the draft a little bit different, kept going and kept pushing it back because I seen how far Aaron Donald would slide down the board. He's easily the best defender in the league. Maybe not the best in terms of stats, but you get a sack, tackle for loss, things of that nature. Those that Aaron Donald is good at. It can kind of offset it, and and for a backup for that, just in case that plan didn't work, being that he is not a stat sheet stuffer, he just impacts the game. I went ahead and went with the stat sheet stuffer in Logan Wilson. He's just a regular linebacker. Gets a lot of tackles. Doesn't make a lot of impact plays in terms of forced fumbles or sacks and things of that nature, interceptions or whatever the case would be. But man, he's gonna rack up them tackles and pass breakups. So I decided to stay with that. Ryan Suckup, like you mentioned, that was a no-brainer. Tom Brady's gonna put up a lot of points, and if he doesn't, he's got Ryan Suckup right behind him just to knock a few dinks and dumps right in. And so that was too easy. So that kind of went hand in hand with my wide receiver pick up there and Mike Evans. I just wanted a piece of both of those offenses. So.
Well, wrapping it up, man, you've got a pretty solid team. I definitely think the wide receivers, I mean, if those backs hit with Etienne and Montgomery, with the receivers that you got, I think Freiermuth will hold his own at tight end, and Hurts is supposed to have a monster season. It's going to be a pretty scary team. So good luck if you run into Eddie's squad early in the season, because it's going to be trouble. Bring your lunch pail.
We're going to work week 2. I don't know who that is, but we're going to work, man. We're bringing that lunch week 2. I'm telling you now.
All right, we're gonna move on to prime time. Murph, let's talk about your squad, man. I know you put in some work today. You were really focused in the draft, wasn't a whole lot of joking around and playing around. I know you were real focused, making sure that you got these picks right. So we're gonna start you off right at the top. Your first pick, I believe, was Cooper Kupp. How easy of a decision was that for you?
Oh, it was a pretty easy decision. I think somebody else earlier just mentioned volume, and I know that historically, especially the past year, Cooper Kupp is going to be that volume receiver who's going to get a lot of targets, sure hands, and he can make some plays after the catch from time to time. So getting that kind of volume in that offense, I just thought that was a perfect opportunity to get a good pick for round 1.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a guy that you can build your team around. And you followed it up. You got Tyreek Hill. Are you confident in Tyreek Hill's role in Miami? How do you feel like he'll transition from going to kind of the cheat code offense in Kansas City, and now they've got kind of like a South Florida speed thing going in Miami across the board? How do you feel about Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, this is one of those picks that you get hoping for the perfect things to take place. So I'm hoping that his quarterback can get him the ball. I'm hoping that they put him in the right positions. When he was in Kansas City, there was no hope involved. You just knew what was going to happen. So This was a hope pick, and I just have a good feeling that it's going to get right. And it's going to be a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's a scary 1-2 punch. I mean, if you were to look at that last year, just reverse a year ago, and you were to have Kupp and Hill week 1, I mean that's about as fearsome a 1-2 as you can conjure up. And then you got Kyla Murray as the quarterback. He should have a very voluminous and he does everything. What do we call him, Trey? What's Baby Yoda? That we call him the flying squirrel. I mean, he's all over the place.
Yeah, Kyla Murray's 4th round pick. I kind of had the assumption that I was going to get an average quarterback, and I think Kyla Murray is actually above average. So I feel pretty fortunate having 2 receivers like Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill, and a above average quarterback like Kyla Murray. I've never had a quarterback that can get as many rushing yards as Kyla Murray. So I'm actually excited for the first time in a while to have a quarterback of this caliber. So it should be pretty fun to see him perform this season.
Now we're running down to your running back room. You've got Ezekiel Elliott and Kareem Hunt. I'm high on Zeke. I know a lot of people kind of knock him, but I still think Zeke is one of the top 4 or 5 runners of the ball. And I know that's not everything in fantasy, but he does get a lot of passes out of the backfield. Dallas does have an explosive offense. They do lean on him. They're in the red zone a lot. And when they get in the red zone, they pump that ball to Zeke. And I see you got Kareem Hunt. And Kareem Hunt just makes Nick Chubb the most frustrating top back to have in fantasy because Kareem Hunt's really good and he gets a lot of volume. What were you thinking when you addressed your running back room?
Yeah, well, when I started off getting 2 wide receivers, I kind of knew that I probably wasn't going to get the cream of the crop running back opportunities. But Ezekiel Elliott is just one of those guys where if he stays healthy, he's going to get you 75 to 90 yards every game. And so, well, maybe not 90 anymore, but he's going to give you that 70 yards consistently. So if he stays healthy, I feel confident in that decision. For Kareem Hunt, my thought process was I needed a gadget kind of running back, somebody who can do it all. And I think the option was between Kareem Hunt and Cordell Patterson. And so I just chose Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, Kareem's a little younger, maybe a little more spry.
Yeah.
I saw you went David Njoku, Cleveland tight end. I mean, there's a lot of buzz about David Njoku. He is super athletic. I know towards the end of last year, he was trouble. I went against him a couple times. It felt like a couple times. And he was tough, man. I felt like he was getting a lot of targets. So that's like an upside pick there. What do you think about David Njoku? And how do you feel about the fact that you got a Miami Hurricane on your team?
Well, I really didn't care too much about him because of that. I'll be straightforward with you. But to your point, he's just a talented individual. And I didn't really know too much about his production. I just know that he's talented and there's a lot of hype around him. So that was a hype pick right there.
Okay, and showing it up, I see you've got your flex and your double flex shored up with Cooper. Got a lot of Cleveland going on. You got Amari Cooper and you've got Devonta Smith out there in Philadelphia. 2 pretty strong receivers, 2 strong touchdown candidates. How do you feel about your flex? How do you feel you address that?
Well, I looked at who I had out there, and I saw Devonta Smith available. And I know that they have A.J. Brown, I think, currently for Philadelphia. But I just think Devonta Smith has the potential to be a number 1 type of receiver. And so to be able to get a number 1 type of talent in the 8th round, I just couldn't say no to him.
All right, and moving on to your bench, you got a couple backs here. Mark Ingram out there in New Orleans always seems to be relevant, even when there's not that much buzz around him. I know Alvin Kamara's got some legal stuff. Probably doesn't factor into this season. Maybe it does. So I see you got Ingram. You got Ronald Jones out there in Kansas City. We'll see how that shakes out. I know they've got a lot of backs out there. They got to make some decisions. So do you feel like you are positioned adequately at running back, or do you feel like you're going to be looking to go to the waiver wire and make some trades at the running back spot?
Yeah, I don't like to make a lot of trades and do all that, especially the first 4 to 5 weeks of football season.
That's your rule. Ain't it? 4 weeks? I need 4 weeks.
That's a rule like the Bible.
I need 4 weeks. I can't talk about trades, so don't text me about any trades for the first 4 weeks. I want to see how things pan out. But I do know that I'm probably a little weak at running back. I have Zeke, Kareem Hunt, and you just mentioned Rojo and Mark Ingram. So Rojo and Mark Ingram, they're just guys who, they're going to have 1 or 2 games, like 2 good games every season at this point in their careers. And I'm just hoping that those 2 good games can turn into 5 good games for me.
All right, man. Let's wrap you up here. Going back at it. Let's see.
I got a kicker and a defensive player for you.
I don't need any kickers or defensive players right now.
Oh, week. 4 weeks now.
I think I have two defensive players.
I wanted to get into that because I see you got Robbie Anderson, you got Daniel Jones as your backup, just guys that you're going to fill. We'll see Robbie Anderson if Baker Mayfield's going to push the ball down the field. Robbie Anderson's sneaky good, especially that back half of the route tree. He can get loose on post, get loose on 9-go routes, and he's done it before, even with New York. So you might have a little value there. I see you got Landry out there in New Orleans. See if Jameis can pitch it around. He's going to need somebody to go underneath. So Landry could be a nice, effective receiver for you as well. Were you looking for anything in specific to wrap up your bench? Were you looking at any specific type of player that you wanted to have on your bench?
Just someone who I thought could stay healthy and make a few plays here and there. That's all. Because in this league, that any player can get going for 70 or 80 yards and a touchdown here or there. So I'm just trying to find players that had that kind of potential, and I think I got it when I got Jarvis Landry and Robbie Anderson.
Yep, I see Young Ho Koo, the kicker. It's like our league's favorite kicker. We got 3 Atlanta Falcon fans, and everybody fighting over Young Ho Koo. Maybe that could be the trade, Corey. Maybe you could offer one of your excellent defenders or your kicker for Young Ho Koo, and we could just consummate this marriage.
Look, I'll package them both. Send me Young way.
All right, defensive. You have something else? CJ Moore may lead the league. He may lead the league in interceptions, man. CJ Moore, you got you a lion, man. Your season is set. It's aligned in the stars.
I don't know if that's more disrespectful to you or me.
Oh man. So Merk, you had Devin White and Joey Bosa. You got 2 defenders, and Devin White's a top 5 defender in my estimation, based on our scoring system. He's scheduled to get almost 13 points week 1. He leads that defense. He's young. LSU Tiger, flies all over the place. The guy just wreaks havoc. And then you've got one of the best rushers in the NFL in Joey Bosa. What were you thinking with the IDP being the first time? How bullheaded were you to get 2 defenders so that you could rotate them?
Yeah, I wanted to get Devin White just because I know he could get the tackles for loss. He could get you a sack. And even though he hasn't been very impactful from a coverage standpoint, this is one of those hope things. But I'm hoping that he can add that coverage and probably get a couple of picks this season as well. When it comes to Joey Bosa, we got him out of the 16 rounds. I got Joey in the 13th round. So that's one of those picks where I might use him as bait for trades in the future because I don't see myself really needing 2 defensive players for the entire season. So it could be some bait, and I'm just hoping that and also you think about Devin White. Devin White is very active. He gets into a lot of contact every game. So if Devin White doesn't stay healthy, I'll have a good backup for him. And if he does stay healthy, then I have some good trade bait for Joey Bosa. Yeah, no,
I like that. I like that you have those 2 defenders. I like that you're talking about making a trade. You're projected 160.84 points as it stands. That's very solid. It looks like 160 is kind of the cutoff with some of the teams that are projected the highest, at least in week 1. Again, it's projections. You don't know what the heck's going to happen, but I think you did a good job settling this team in, and you obviously got the strength between the quarterback and those 2 top receivers, man. You got a nice little team here. This is going to be solid. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
For sure. It's been a great draft.
All right. So we're going to move on. We're going to bring in the guy who just got him some supper. His belly's full. He's ready to talk about his squad. We're going to go to Michael Langston, the one, the only Michael Savages. Let's talk about it. I know you had your eyes set. Let's talk about Jonathan Taylor first. You announced that Jonathan Taylor is going to be the first pick of the draft months ago. So I was wondering if you were going to try to pull a fast one on us and switch it up at the last minute, but I guess you meant what you said.
Yeah, I knew when we did the kind of the draft settings that I was going to get the first pick. I knew that was the guy I wanted. If you look at a lot of my running backs, they're durable dudes. I wanted physical dudes that are durable. There's other guys that can probably outshine them as far as explosibility, but these guys can score touchdowns and they're physical and they're going to be able to take the pounding because that's what fantasy is for a season. You got to go through, injuries, which I went through last year a lot. And then, so I wanted to really take a guy that I thought was durable and Taylor, and also Damian Harris, the same thing. I'm not worried about if he gets traded or whatever. I don't care. I mean, he gets touchdowns. They're going to play him. He's durable. He usually doesn't get banged up. So I just think I feel very good about the running backs I got.
All right, and I saw Josh Allen had been somebody that I know you've been targeting.
Yeah.
We had talked about the top end of the quarterbacks, and you didn't get Josh Allen, but you did get the second highest projected quarterback in Justin Herbert. How big of a drop off do you think it is between Allen and Herbert, or do you think that it might be a wash and you got your guy?
I think Allen's a drop off for any quarterback because I think that's why he's number one. Because he can run and throw. So I think there's a drop off. I don't think it's astronomical drop off. I think Herbert's a really good thrower, and I love that offense. That's why I picked him. I had three guys in mind if I was going to get the quarterback, and he was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Patty was one of them, and then Herbert, and then Allen. So I felt like I was going to get one of those guys. So I was happy to get Herbert because I know what they do with that offense. I know the way to use him. They're always giving up points, so he's always on the field, putting up points. So I feel pretty good about the pick and where I got him at.
Okay, moving on to your receivers, a guy that's been kind of slept on, especially with the projections. I mean, across the board, his ADP was a little off, a little lower than what you think it would be, or higher, however you want to look at that, respectively. DK Metcalf in Seattle. Does it matter who the quarterback is for DK Metcalf?
No, I did a lot of study just on kind of the usage and what it's going to be like, and he was a guy I kind of targeted if he was going to be there at the round that I picked receiver, since I knew that I was going to make kind of a bold move on the defensive side. So I knew later if he was there, DK was going to be a guy. I don't think it really matters. I mean, he's a guy that he's so big, and the way he gets open in separation, I think he's going to find a way to make plays. Maybe not as high as what he previously has been, but really just you want a playmaker that really just changes the game, and I think DK does that. So I was
looking down here at the rest of the receiving core that you've got in your starting lineup. You got Brandon Ayuk and Treylon Burks. What were you thinking with both those picks? What kind of sold you on both those guys?
I had Ayuk last year, and I've had him in several leagues. I've heard a lot of great things about him in the fall camp, so I really like that. A lot of people are going to focus on Kittle and Samuel. I think that's going to really open up Ayuk, and I love that pick. If he was going to be there, I was definitely going to take him because I've had him before. And then Burks was a guy drafted to replace A.J. Brown. They purposely did it. So he's going to be a major part of that offense. They're going to throw him the ball. They're going to find a way. And he does some of the same things that what A.J. does. He's physical between catches, physical in his routes. I've always loved him. Me and you have done plenty of mock drafts, and I've really raved about that guy. I liked him all the way when he played at Arkansas. I love what he done when I watch him. He's a game breaker with good speed, and I was really excited. He was probably one I was most excited about because of I think what his potential was. I have a lot of guys on my team, whether you look at position like running back, receivers, that they're probably not sexy and they're not high up there on as far as projections or right now. But I think as the season goes on, those guys are going to go really high. I think my projections are going to go even higher. I'm pretty happy where they have me as far as team projections, but I wanted to draft differently this year and take a different approach of, where are they going to be when you need them? Where are they going to be when the season kicks on farther? Last year I did that went the opposite way and just went on high projection. And I think I really studied a lot of these guys as far as each pick I made, and really like how they're going to rise up as the season goes on.
Right, and shoring up your starting lineup. I know you had to get a Cowboy and Tony Pollard. I know how explosive he is, and so you got him and you got Gesicki. What were you thinking with those two picks there?
Yeah, with Pollard, that's kind of a no-brainer. It really wasn't about I love the Cowboys. It was more about his usage in that offense. Near the end of the year, he was the guy that they were going to most of the time. Really, the only downside with Tony is the touchdowns. If he can get touchdowns, he's going to be a freakish pick. And and I've done some just checking with people in Dallas because obviously I'm a diehard, so I want to know what's going on with my squad. And they're saying like kind of Zeke is just not in the playing weight that they want. And I just think Tony fits everything they do. He's going to be really good in the receiving department. goes back to those first down kickers you mentioned. I think he's going to be very pivotal in that. So I've always loved Tony as a player. I had him last year too. And I know Rico was trying to get him from me a few times, on that team. But and then
Failed.
Gesicki, yeah,
Failed miserably.
and then Gesicki, that was one. I have a lot of friends in Miami that I checked with just on how their offense is doing, and I think when you have Hill and you have Waddle and you have all the weapons they have, and the one thing I noticed about when Tua's playing, he loves Gesicki. He loves to go to Gesicki, especially in the red zone. So that attracted me with Gesicki. I really wanted that guy on my team if he was going to be there. I love that they go so heavily to him when they get in the red zone, and I think he's just going to open up. He's not he's not like the Darren Wallers or the Kittles or the the Mark Andrews or all those top guys or Kelsey. He's not a guy that's going to get you like not 120 yards in gains, but he's going to be a guy they methodically, consistently go to, and then. What it is about tight ends, you want them to score, and that's what he does. He scores touchdowns. So that was kind of my draw to him.
Yeah, I see you got a couple of backs on the bench. I always got to have some backs. I see you got a guy that we might have to get in some talks with Mr. Spiller out there with the Chargers. And I see Jamie Robinson. They're going to try to bring him around with that Achilles. But Jamie Robinson, I mean, Corey, I know you had Jamie Robinson. You tore some people up with Jamie Robinson a couple of years ago or last year. So if he gets healthy, it'll be real interesting to see how they split with Etienne and him. So two backs, the Spiller kid really, if anything happens to Eckler, they really think he's going to be the guy because he's got that same skill set. And then Jamie Robinson, or James Robinson rather, I mean, he's still a seasoned guy with a couple years under his belt. I mean, I know he was undrafted and he kind of took the NFL by storm, had a lot of touchdowns, ran tough, first down getter. So how confident are you in his ability to bounce back, one, from the Achilles and carve out that proper role should he do so in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I had him 2 years ago on my team, maybe a few years ago. And I just really like James. I think what he does, he's a multi-threat. Like he gets passing and he gets rushing. I love what they ran pretty much their offense through James, the last few years. Obviously, with Etienne, that's going to change because it's probably going to be a two-back situation, and certainly they're going to want to see what Travis can do. But I really like just the fit of James. I think he's coming off the injury. Everything I've heard is pretty positive. But certainly, that's always a risk you take as far as guys coming off injuries. But he's a guy that I just feel like Etienne is going to get hurt at some point. And I like just, I know his durability, what he can do for the most part. So I was really high on him. He's a guy that if he was there, I was going to take him. Sorry to break Corey's heart and take him and get ahead of him. But I just had to have somebody that I felt like could tack both vertically as far as in the passing game and then also between the tackles. And I've seen what James can do from a fantasy perspective. So that was certainly a guy I wanted. And then Spiller, Rico kind of turned me on him, maybe do some research on him when we mentioned him a few times and we do mock drafts. And I checked him out. And I've watched Isaiah when he was at Texas A&M a lot. The reason I picked him is because I think he's a little bit different than Eckler because he's more physical. And so I think you could see more situations where he gets down there and they get close to the goal line. They might use him more. And then two, I just think I just like him as a guy that can run between the tackles, and I think he's going to move his way up the depth chart. And I think they're going to eventually use him because he's just effective back, and it goes back to what I drafted when running backs. I want durability with my backs. I want guys that I feel like can handle that load and handle that beating for the most part. I mean, James is kind of the only iffy one, but the other ones, I think they're all physical, durable backs.
All right, and wrapping up your bench, I see you did get a backup quarterback, got Mr. Goff. Goff looks like he could have a bounce back year. You've got Noah Fant, tight end in Seattle, and then you've got Terrence Marshall. Was there anything that stuck out between those three, or were you just looking best available at that point in the draft?
Well, I mean, partly it was best available. Partly was, I made a few calls to see about what they were telling me at Carolina because I was just interested with a new quarterback with Baker in there, and I kind of wanted to see if there was somebody else besides DJ Moore that they were mentioning, and they mentioned that Terrence was having a great fall camp, but I think he was coming off a hamstring, so that's a little concerning. But that's why I took him so late. So I felt like I could get a guy like him. And who are the other two?
Well, Goff and Fant. Fant
Yeah,
back up tight end.
Goff. I'm not. I don't think Goff is a fantastic quarterback, but I think he's a fantastic fantasy quarterback. I think he's going to get a lot of options. They pass a lot to Swift in the backfield. They certainly have Amon St. Brown out there that I'm pretty high on. I like that kid a lot. So I think they're going to put up nice numbers as far as fantasy. So I really liked his game. And then Noah Fant was a guy I had last year when he was at Denver. I was really happy with the production he gave me. I later traded him to Rico. I don't know what he did with you, but he was really good for me. So I really like those guys a lot.
Yeah, that's when I was starving for tight ends because I had an oasis in my roster.
Yeah.
Wrapping up, you got Justin Tucker, arguably the best kicker in football. And then you got who we talked about. I know I talked to Trey today. I think I talked to Eddie earlier today. Micah Parsons is the best defensive player in the Justice League in our individual defensive player standings. There was no way to tweak the settings. There was no way to dink and dunk or make tackles this or make pick. Micah's he's one of one. Like he is the top defensive guy. How important was it for you to get somebody who is unequivocally the best at his position?
Yeah, I mean, I had to do something that would separate myself to be unique in getting him. I knew nobody's going to really go after him in the second round. So I was like, let me go after him, dock him out really early. I know what he does, obviously, because I watch them every week. And there's no situation where this guy gets sacks, he gets tackles for loss, he gets turnovers, he gets fumbles. He's the trifecta of everything that you're looking for in a defensive player. Yes, it was a risk. I had to balance my stuff out when I did receivers and running backs and stuff. But I just felt like if I'm going to go after the best, I want the number one guy that I know production wise he's going to produce. I think some of his worst games were like 8 tackles. So I mean, and he just impacts the game in so many ways, for Dallas. And that was the only guy I would do that for. Like if somebody took him, I was probably going to wait a while because there was so many guys that are kind of in that 190 range, but he was so high that I just knew what he did. I just sometimes you got to just think outside the box and do stuff that somebody else isn't going to do, and I knew that if I went that early that I could nab him. And so I really wanted, it wasn't so much, I love him as a Cowboy, but it wasn't so much a Cowboys fan as I want to knock this position down where I don't have to worry about it and I can just focus on, just playmakers like running back, receiver, and then get my quarterback. And so that's why I went after him so hard. And then with Tucker, I just kind of fell for me where I saw kind of best available at the time where I could get him. And nobody was taking kickers yet. So I was like, well, hell, why not just go get the best dude? So went out there and got Tucker. And so got the number one kicker, got the number one defensive player, got the number one running back, top 3 quarterback. So that's kind of was my plan going into it, that I wanted to kind of get the number one guy at certain positions.
Yeah, no, I think you accomplished that. I mean, Allen's going to be one of one, but Herbert has actually jumped Mahomes. So, I mean, you've got a top 2 guy there, and you've got a pretty strong roster across the board, and you got a horse in Taylor. And then we preached it. I put it into our communications about the IDP, and so Parsons is going to have some huge games. So you've got a roster, man. We'll see. You're approaching 160. I think they got you at 155 projection. Again, it's projection. You've got some guys like Burks that's projected fairly low, and maybe some other guys that they knocked down Gesicki's projection a little bit too. So we'll see how it pans out, man. So that is Michael's Savages.
Yeah, I already got a few texts from people about Jonathan Taylor, so I know it's going to start.
I love it. I love it. Justice League. You don't even make it through the post draft show. You already got mail.
I already made my waiver wire.
Corey.
Midstream. I was on the waiver. Put it in.
You go into the boom room early, dropping all kinds of stuff in there.
Do something. You hear me?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and talk to Mr. Trey, Mr. Doom Enterprises. talk about his roster and what he does. I don't know if there's anybody who puts any more time into this than Trey. Very thoughtful management, very participatory in a lot of trades. So let's get right into it. Your first pick, and we talked today about it, Christian McCaffrey. He burned you last year. What is the fear factor? In the year before that, what is the fear factor of Christian McCaffrey?
Third time is a charm. Third time is a charm. Like, I think year 3 is the first year that I actually drafted him and I didn't trade for him. So I'm thinking that, like, maybe if I show him a little loyalty up front, he'll show me some loyalty on the back end.
Okay, so you get Christian McCaffrey. I think your next pick was Keenan Allen. We've gone rounds about Keenan Allen. He's super productive, but he's not that overwhelming physical monster that makes you want to draft him. But the guy produces, man. The guy produces top 10 wide receiver value. So you got him. So when you play Mike, I mean, Mike's going to be throwing you a lot of points. How confident are you in Keenan Allen? And then double that up with Michael Pittman. Do you think Michael Pittman is going to be a top 10 receiver this year?
I do. I've been hearing a whole lot of buzz about Michael Pittman. In terms of, like, hey, like, this is his year. Like, he has a great quarterback upgrade in Matt Ryan.
Oh, now he's a great quarterback.
Consistent. Year in, year out. I know. I knew the Atlanta boys over here would be laughing at me saying the Matt Ryan thing.
Nah, he's great. Okay.
Hey, as soon as he gets out of that hellhole.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But nah, I think Matt Ryan definitely is an upgrade over Carson Wentz in Indiana. So I'm liking Michael Pittman this year.
Okay. Now we'll look at your backs. We'll talk about your backs just in general here. You've got J.K. Dobbins and Michael Carter. I think Michael Carter is super slept on. I'm not quite sure why people think Michael Carter is just going to go away. Michael Carter was super effective when he was healthy in fantasy. He's one of the top guys down the stretch. So they got a real 1-2 punch there with Breece Hall and Michael Carter. What are we thinking about J.K. Dobbins, and how confident are you that the Ohio State Buckeye is going to get healthy and lead the charge there in Baltimore?
I'm pretty optimistic. I think they're doing the right thing by easing them in and not just throwing them out there like just to get hurt again. So I'm thinking that with them easing them back in there, it may not be good for, like, earlier weeks of fantasy, but I think for the long haul, like when J.K. Dobbins was healthy 2 years ago, like, dude was a stud. So I'm thinking if he can return back to form, he could be a nice little budget buy.
Okay, and Michael Carter, what was the intrigue with Michael Carter?
Briefly lagged out there.
You lagged up. We still got you?
Yep, I'm there.
Yeah, I was asking you about Michael Carter. What did you think about Michael Carter? What sticks out about him?
Just even looking at the most recent report that, like, the New York Jets beat is still saying that Michael Carter is the RB1 in New York, and I mean, for the draft position that I got him, I mean, that's pretty much a free RB1, respective to their team. So, and RB1s get gobbled up very early in Justice League. So, yeah, I mean, even if he has an expiration date, I mean, I'm still going to milk as much as I can.
Looking at your tight end position, you've got. Let's try this out. Let's see if we can do this. Albert Okwuegbunam. Pass catcher. Okwuegbunam. Okay, he's a pass catcher. Hey, A for Everett. Pass catcher out of Denver. He kind of made Noah Fant expendable last year, I felt. Because I had Noah Fant. Noah Fant didn't really carry the mail like we thought that he would. And Albert really kind of came out there and made some stuff happen. What were your thoughts on Albert? And I see you got Robert Tonyan as well.
Yep. So as far as Albert goes, I mean, I was just more so I kind of waited for tight end a little late. So I was just looking for budget buys or whatnot. And I mean, huge quarterback upgrade for Denver with Russell Wilson So I'm gonna at least try and snag their TE1. And then with Bob Tonyan, I mean, when healthy, he is very solid. And then with the absence of the red zone target hog and Devonta Adams out there in Green Bay, I think that Tonyan should get back to form at least 2 years ago.
There's a couple players on your roster here that I don't think are going to get their due, but I think they're really good picks. Chris Olave, we talked about Chris Olave in New Orleans. Jameis stays healthy. Chris Olave is a great wide receiver prospect. And then George Pickens. George Pickens is the sexy pick to be the offensive player of the year, or rookie offensive player of the year out there in Pittsburgh. What were you thinking with those two young guys? I know we talked about getting young players that kind of hit down the stretch when it's playoff season. What was factoring in the selection of those two?
Upside, pure upside. Like with Olave, them out there in New Orleans. Jameis loves to spread the ball around. I mean, last time Jameis had a starting gig with Tampa Bay, dude lit it up. I mean, turnovers, but the yardages were definitely there, and it was a very fantasy-friendly offense. So I have high hopes for Olave, and then with Pickens, I've been seeing a whole lot of buzz about him being like the WR2 out there ahead of Claypool, basically bumping Claypool to a large slot receiver. So I'm liking what I'm seeing for Pickens.
Okay, and let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Lamar Jackson. Love him, hate him, be in between. He's always the source of conversations. What do you think he's going to do this year? Contract year. He's looking to get a new contract. He wants to be the highest paid guy in football at that position. What kind of year do you think Lamar Jackson's going to have? And how concerned are you about the additions and the subtractions in the wide receiver room and just across the board for Baltimore?
A little bit concerned. I'm not gonna lie, Lamar wasn't the top quarterback on my draft board, but I think just the upside with Lamar is there. Like, I mean, when dude hits, he is super explosive, super fun to watch. He's lightning in the bottle whenever he has the ball in his hands. I think he does still have some decent. There we go with Trent. Wait a second. But as far as receiving options go out there, I mean, Mark Andrews, I think he could end up finishing his TE1 this year. So I like that. Eddie beat me to the punch for WR1 out there and Rashad Bateman. But I think they like what they've seen from him and kind of made Hollywood a little bit easier of a let go and an easier pill to swallow of letting him go to Arizona. So I think Lamar should be overall pretty good, though.
All right, and wrapping up, let's see. We've got a guy that I really don't know a whole lot about, Romeo Dobbs. You've got Romeo Dobbs and you've got E. Benjamin out there in Arizona as a backup. What are you thinking with those two? Those are kind of deep bench guys. It's a 14-team league. You know, Pickens gets slim. What hunches did you have on those two?
With Romeo Dobbs, I mean, even with just all the buzz that I've been hearing from like Green Bay camp, just like, hey, like this guy, he's not getting the rookie treatment from Rodgers. Like he's gonna be an instant guy, step up right into the slot role, and I think he's gonna gobble up a lot of targets. I think he, like with him and Christian Watson coming into that offense, kind of new faces. I think since Watson is a little bit more banged up right now, I think Dobbs is going to step in as kind of like that rookie focus.
All right, and you went ham at the defensive players. You got T.J. Watt and Shaq Leonard, two of the top point projected guys, especially Leonard. Both guys have some injury issues right now. I know Leonard is looking at trying to avoid the PUP list. I think he will. And then T.J. Watt got a little banged up today. But, man, you really addressed the defensive players. You're going to have some serious explosiveness there at the defensive players. How important was it for you to get some of the top guys? I'd say you have two of the top 5 guys projected in IDP.
Yeah, that was very important. like with especially with the recent scoring updates to that position that went from an afterthought position on my draft board to a priority. Like especially like I really wanted Micah Parsons. I wanted him bad. I wasn't gonna pay second round for him, but I wanted him bad. So as soon as I seen Micah go off the board, like that kind of sounded the alarm for me to try and at least get Shaq Leonard. Like, I mean, dude is just literally like a magnet with the ball, like with his whole punching technique. Like, he's a turnover machine. And then, I mean, I had to get the 2021 Defensive Player of the Year as well on top of that. I mean, that might be a trade chip as soon as Shaq gets healthy. So,
very nice. So I see a lot of upside in your roster. You still maintain a solid projection, a lot of upside. Got two of the top defenders. So you're definitely going to be somebody that's going to be moving and shaking. It's par for the course. And then you've got two very good receivers. You've got Lamar Jackson in there and McCaffrey. So it looks like you're set. You're ready to roll. I mean, it looks like a typical Doom Enterprise roster, especially with the upside. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. We'll roll down and we'll finish up your division. A couple guys we don't have in the chat, so I'll just run down. Guy got a tremendous draft grade, Joe. Saquon, can you see is the name of his team. So he's got Dak Prescott. Should be an interesting year for him. Terry McLaurin, obviously a target hog out there in Washington. Hollywood Brown should have a big year out there in Arizona, especially with Nuke Hopkins being out for the first 6 weeks. Najee Harris is his bell cow. That's looking good there. Should have a big workload out there in Pittsburgh. Saquon Barkley is the highest projected player in our league with our settings. So if Saquon Barkley stays healthy, it could be big trouble. Got Andrews out there as the number 2 tight end off the board. So he's solid at tight end. He's very solid at back. And then we've got Edwards-Helaire, and then we've got Christian Kirk. So that's his starting lineup. Got a very, very nice bench piece in Kadarius Toney. Tua Tagovailoa is the backup quarterback. Got Herbert, who's going to be siphoning some work from Montgomery. KJ Hamler out there in Denver as a receiver, probably going to get some upside. And then he went ahead and he got 2 guys at the IR slot in Gallup and Jameson Williams out of Detroit. So he already filled that up. That's looking nice. No kicker. And he's got Nick Bosa as defensive player. So I see what he did there was slick. He kind of finagled the rules there. So that's going to be pretty strong. If he can get those 2 receivers to hit later, that's going to be nice for him. So that is going to be Joe's roster. Let's go down and we'll finish up your division with Trent. Trent's got Trey Lance is going to be his quarterback. CeeDee Lamb, top 5 receiver. DJ Moore, Aaron Jones, Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny is going to be a little bit of an interesting pick because he could have a great year or he could be very average. Dalton Schultz, tremendous tight end out there in Dallas. He's probably going to be number 2 in that offense, catching the ball. Mike Williams is a great pickup. Mike Williams is actually, in many respects, projected to have an even better year than Keenan Allen. It's kind of crazy because Keenan Allen's solid. And he also got Brandon Cooks. Had some discussions about Brandon Cooks today. Brandon Cooks is extremely productive out there in Houston. Then we've got Jamal Williams. We've got Justin Fields, Irv Smith Jr., a sneaky tight end. I know Trey loves Irv Smith Jr. He's probably going to try to pull off a trade with Trent if I know Trey. He loves him some Irv Smith Jr. Got Mr. Pacheco out there in Kansas City, a backup rookie running back that's probably going to hit a little later on in the year. Then Sonny Michel, so he's got a piece of that Miami backfield. And then Tolbert for Dallas. Kicker's going to be Carlson. Defensive player is going to be T. Smith. Not really sure what T. Smith is doing. Or
that was a Corey auto pick.
Okay, so this happened to more than just Corey. This happened to more than just Corey, I see. All right, so that wraps up your division there. Let's go and take a peek at Willie. Let's look at Willie. Make you want to slap your mama. Got the top quarterback in the league, Josh Allen. Tyler Lockett, Hunter Renfrow as his receivers. Dalvin Cook, Antonio Gibson. He's taking a risk there with Gibson. We'll see. Maybe they're just trying to motivate him. Maybe he'll get back to getting that RB2 type work. Hunter Henry, big-time touchdown getter. He's got a piece of that Buffalo running back field with Singletary there. Singletary kind of hit or miss. Never really has explosive games, but he's usually not terrible. Kenneth Walker could be interesting in Seattle. I know he's hurt right now, but he should be back relatively soon. Willie's got tremendous backup quarterback here with Matt Stafford. That's a tremendous backup quarterback there. KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne, got Evan Ingram, and Donta Foreman in Carolina is going to shore up his bench. He got Trayvon Diggs, so he's got the top corner, the secondary guy, third level guy in our defensive settings, and he also backed it up with Byard. Byard's the top scoring safety in IDP, and Greg Joseph is his kicker. So that is Willie's bunch, and then we'll reel off. We'll go down to Mario. Mario, Midwest Assassin, got Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins. Really love the DeAndre Swift pick. He's got Cam Akers as well. He's got Dallas Goedert, Josh Jacobs, Jerry Jeudy is rounding up his starting lineup. Now he's got Madison, the backup to Cook out there in Minnesota. He's got Brian Robinson, obviously had an incident today, so hopefully he's got a speedy recovery. Backup quarterback is going to be Trevor Lawrence. Backup tight end is Austin Hooper. Samaje Perine backing up Joe Mixon is another running back that he's got, and then Corey Davis. Kickers, he's going to have Evan McPherson, and as a defensive player, he got Christian Wilkins. Interesting pick there at defensive player there. We'll see how that pans out. We've already talked about Michael Savages. We'll go to Jameis Crabhunter. And fittingly, Jameis Crabhunter, my man Anthony Porterfield, number 43, tight end for your favorite college football team, the Florida State Seminoles. He's got Jameis Winston on his team. It's only right. The world is right again now that Jameis Winston is on Jameis Crabhunter. His everyday quarterback is going to be Tom Brady. He got him really early. Big Bucks fan, so he went out there. He got his guy, and he got him early. Tom Brady was actually the first quarterback off the board. So there's that. Gabriel Davis and Chris Godwin. He's taking a chance on Chris Godwin's health. Alvin Kamara, he's taking a big chance here with Kamara because Kamara could either be one of the top backs or he could just be average. Depends on what happens with that suspension situation, but there's no question the talent in Kamara. Anybody who had him a couple years ago on Christmas Day when he had 6 TDs probably won a lot of money off Alvin Kamara. So Kamara is a GOAT in fantasy. Nahim Hines is another running back that he's got kind of a reach there. Obviously, he's going to be getting the less cooked pieces of chicken behind Jonathan Taylor out there in Indianapolis. But Nahim Hines has a weird knack for having some big plays randomly. He's got George Kittle as a tight end, very solid pickup. He's got Juju Smith-Schuster in Kansas City. That's a very solid pickup. And Adam Thielen is sneaky good, especially in the flex position. When he's got Schuster and Thielen in the flex positions, that's pretty strong flex. He's got a really good backup tight end in Zach Ertz. We talked about Winston, Rashad White. Anthony is big into the Bucks, so he's got a couple Bucks on his team. Actually got more than a couple, got 3, looking like Corey with the Falcons. Got Van Jefferson and Marlon Mack out there in Houston. Houston's interesting. Houston, it should be Dameon Pierce based on what we're reading, but there's also Rex Burkhead out there, and you also have Marlon Mack out there too. So it'll be interesting to see which guy gets the hot hand, if Pierce can live up to what he's been doing in camp, or if they're going to go with a veteran. Marlon Mack was very, very solid in Indianapolis before he came to Houston, suffered an injury. Shout out to the 941. Marlon Mack, Booker High School. Got a chance to prepare and coach against him back in the day. Phenomenal player. I hope he gets back on track. Matt Gay is going to be the kicker. Jameis went out there and did exactly what we thought he would do. He got him a Seminoles as defender, Derwin James, and then he's got Justin Simmons, one of the top safeties also in the NFL. So that is Jameis Crabhunter. Going down, we've got 2 more teams to discuss there. We've got Mark, newcomer to the league. Mark, Mr. Owens, he got the one, the only Pat Mahomes as his quarterback, centerpiece of his team. Went out there and got Cortland Sutton. I know a couple of you guys were real high on Cortland Sutton. Got Allen Robinson out there. Is Allen Robinson going to be reborn in Los Angeles? Possibly. Is it going to siphon a lot of work away from Cooper Kupp? We'll see. Robert Woods got hurt last year. Cooper Kupp ended up going crazy. I know they brought in Odell Beckham, who picked it up on the back end, but by that time, Cooper Kupp was pretty much the game plan. We'll see if Allen Robinson changes that. Got a very solid value back. Got 2 really solid value backs in Leonard Fournette and Connor. And they're not the sexiest, but they get a lot of red zone opportunities. Tampa Bay and Arizona have 2 of the best offenses in the league, and there's going to be a lot of red zone scoring opportunity there. TJ Hawkinson is a tight end out of Detroit. Should be pretty good. Detroit's got a lot of targets out there. They look like that offense is going to be a little more well-rounded, so we'll see how much work TJ Hawkinson gets. I believe he was a Pro Bowl tight end, though. No doubt about it. He's an every down player for them. Miles Sanders is a bit of a reach because he just can't stay healthy, and the Joker just doesn't score touchdowns, But the talent is there. Philly's supposed to be really good. They love what they've got there as far as the running back room and the wide receiver room in Philly. They think Hurts is going to have a big year, so he could have a big impact. And then Mecole Hardman. Looking at his roster, he probably wanted to match his flex up. There's a lot of people that are missing out of that Kansas City offense that have been there before. Pringle, I think, is gone. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is the elephant in the room. He's not there. So their fastest, most, explosive downfield threat is Mecole Hardman, and he's got that matched up with that stack with Mahomes and Hardman. Should be interesting. Sammy Watkins out there in Green Bay. I mean, I love Sammy Watkins from a talent standpoint. He'll just see if he can stay on the field. Matt Jones is his backup quarterback. Robert Woods is a sneaky one in Tennessee. Depending on how effective he could be in the early going, if he can kind of retard some of the growth of Burks going into the season, or if they really try to be hard-headed and pound Burks, Robert Woods could get some sneaky WR2 value. He got another Kansas City Chief in Valdez-Scantling, so he really wants to work on that stack. Josh Palmer is a wide receiver 3 out there in LA for the Chargers. A lot of buzz. That could hit later. That could be a sneaky good flex. And then D. Hilliard for Tennessee is the backup to one of the backups to Derrick Henry. I know they also have Hassan Haskins out there. Nick Bolton, I guess his name is Nick Bolton. Let me see. Yeah, Nick Bolton, I guess, and got it right. That's going to be his linebacker. And then Harrison Buckner. So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Chiefs. So no doubt about it, Mark is a Kansas City Chief lifer, ride or die. And he has got it reflected on his team. Got a fly flying around here because the door got left open. I'm about to go ham sandwich. All right, Bomb Squad. Anthony Macidi, former champ. The 2018 champ is back this year in Justice League, and he has got a roster on him. He's got Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Aaron Rodgers was one of the few, I think there was 5 500-point projected quarterbacks in our league for our settings. It's a little different. I think it's better, but, opinions vary. Aaron Rodgers QB got Devonta Adams, so he still believes in Devonta Adams. Too bad it's not a stack anymore because they broke that up. But he does have Devonta Adams and A.J. Brown, his 2 receivers. Pretty formidable tandem there. At running back, he's got Joe Mixon and he's got Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell, if he can stay in favor of Shanahan out there in San Francisco, we all know what the San Francisco backs do. And Joe Mixon is just feature presentation, one of the best offenses in the league. Sneaky good. Joe Mixon can stay healthy, which he did a good job of last year. He's going to return RB 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 value potentially. Cole Kmet, a lot of buzz from him coming out of Chicago. Just a matter of can that line hold? Can Justin Fields get him the ball? Amon-Ra St. Brown, love that guy. Me and Trey, big Lion fans. We know what he can do. Got a lot of hopes for him in year 2 in Detroit. Jameson Williams is going to be coming off of injury probably mid-year or so. So that should be enough time for St. Brown to really carve out his role in the offense and really get going. Melvin Gordon's the second half of that tandem out there in Denver with Mr. Williams out there at the running back. Don't know which one's going to hit. Kenny Galladay, Kenny G. Jazz is just kind of in purgatory right there in New York. Probably should have took less money and stayed in Detroit, but glad he stepped because our roster's good and Kenny Galladay's out there in New York trying to get some targets, and he ain't getting too many. But the talent is there. If he can get the targets, he could be really good. A nice value pick here that he got late, Julio Jones, especially in the first half of the year. With Godwin coming back from injury, you've also got Russell Gage coming off injury. Tampa Bay's got some issues with the line, which kind of tells me they're going to be trying to pass the ball and passing it quickly. If they bump Julio out there into the slot or run him around there, move him positionally, he could have a big first half of the year. Obviously, it comes down to health with that guy, but it's still Julio Jones. He's still a name. That could be a nice pick early in the season for him. we would expect pleasantries from the Atlanta faithful when discussing Julio Jones. Y'all shouldn't have gave him that big ass contract. I don't know what y'all was thinking. I told you when you did it. I told you when they did it, and you were giving me all.
No. Don't, dog. You always try to pivot. You always do that.
I told you.
It was you, Trey, and I on the phone, and I said they messed up 2 years into the contract. They gave him a new one to make him the highest paid wide receiver. That's the dumbest thing because now you're hamstrung to him and Matt Ryan for years to come. And look what we're doing. Look at it.
Yeah. Well. Anyways, terrible move. Art, what are you doing? Backup quarterback's going to be Ryan Tannehill. Been successful previously. A.J. Brown's out of there. Devin Duvernay. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 out there in Baltimore. They actually have a high projection on Devin Duvernay. I'm not quite sure if he'll live up to it, but it's up there. Tyler Higbee is a nice tight end backup out of L.A. And then Isaiah McKenzie at wide receiver. And just looking at that, I guess he's supposed to be outside as well as the slot. So they had some departures in Buffalo. Buffalo's obviously got a crazy good offense, and Josh Allen's going to be pitching and catching out there. So McKenzie kind of rounds out his skill guys. Isaiah Simmons is just a lights-out linebacker in Arizona. He picked him up as his defender, and then he's got McManus as his kicker. And that is going to round out all in our division except mine. So I'll go over my team unless people don't want to hear about it. Bunch of bums. I don't know what I was doing picking these idiots. Quarterback Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow to me is a star already. He was a half second of protection away from winning a Super Bowl with a bomb to Jamar Chase in an early part of his, I guess it would have been his second year. So I have all the faith in the world in Joe Burrow. I think he's going to have a crazy good year. And so I was very, very keen on taking him early when quarterbacks started falling off the board. The first pick I ended up getting was Austin Eckler. And it's kind of funny because I have not been super high on Austin Eckler. And he is just a fantasy god, though. In that offense with the Chargers, he just gets feature presentation. He's all over the field. And I always go against him. And this year I actually have a chance to have him unless I package him up in a trade and get somebody that I like better. But he's probably going to serve my fantasy team pretty well. Devo Samuel, love Devo Samuel. He was a top receiver that was still there, kind of fell to me, so I was able to scoop him. And then I really wanted to get some balance. And I got actually my second pick was Travis Kelce. And I know I talked to a couple of people. I talked to Trey. I talked to Mike about it. I wanted to have the best of something. And at this point, Eckler's not the best running back. He's top 3 fantasy-wise. But Kelce is unequivocally the best tight end. So I was like, I have to find a way to separate myself and get some points there that other people can't get at the tight end position. Kelce's basically like a WR1 at the tight end position. So I was able to grab him. I rounded out my running back position with A.J. Dillon, who is kind of the 1B out there in Green Bay. We'll see how it pans out. I ended up getting Kenneth Gainwell, who is the backup out there in Philly, but he's projected pretty high, and he should get a lot of feature presentation out there, depending on what happens with Miles Sanders. Cordell Patterson, I was a little iffy on. I know he went crazy last year, but I don't know that he's going to have that same type of year opportunity share in Atlanta. But nonetheless, it was a solid pickup. He allowed me to shore up my running back room. And I also got Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds I am high on. I think he's going to be the best back out of Miami. Yeah, and I think that Tua is a game manager quarterback. I don't think Tua is a slinger. I think they want to control the ground. I think Chase Edmonds is probably going to get 50% or more of the carries. And I know they got a committee out there, but I think Chase Edmonds is going to be an every week flex for me. And I actually had him last year towards the end, and I probably should have started him in a week, and I didn't, and it kind of burned me, and Mike called me a dumbass, but that's okay. The weakest part of my team, I would say, is probably my receivers after Debo. I've got Rondale Moore. I picked him up real late because of the Nuke Hopkins suspension. Rondale Moore should be able to get some work in there. Chase Claypool, I like Chase Pool. The talent's there, but the opportunity share, and with Pickens coming along, I'm not feeling too great about that. A guy that I am feeling great about, though, is Nico Collins, a guy that I wanted the whole year. He was a guy I told myself I was going to get. He's the WR2 in Houston. Brandon Cooks is the one, but Brandon Cooks could get hurt. I know they drafted Nico Collins with a purpose, and they like him. And Davis Mills, I'm actually in Houston. They love Davis Mills, and they love Nico. So I'm hoping that Nico can kind of return, give me some ROI there. DJ Chark, told Trey I wanted to have at least one Detroit Lion on my team, and I got him. DJ Chark is going to be the downfield threat. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to eat up the middle of the field. Jameson Williams is probably going to be somebody they try to work into at the end, but they signed DJ Chark and got a good contract on him, and he's walking into a role with Jared Goff that I think could be pretty fruitful. So that's what I was thinking there. Sky Moore just went with an upside pick there. Not sure how Kansas City is gonna pan out there. So we'll have to see how that works out. So that shores up my bench. And actually, I did one thing that I did not want to do last year, or I don't want to repeat last year. Last year, I was out there with like a jar, asking for loose change for tight ends. I had such an oasis at tight end. And given Kelce's start last year, and there's a little bit of injury, like he was kind of like pacing himself, and the usage that he's going to get in Kansas City, I was like, I have got to get a backup tight end. And I actually took Dawson Knox here in a spot where most people were taking receiver. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to kneecap myself and be so dependent on Kelce that if something were to happen to him, I would be dumpster diving for a tight end. I really like Dawson Knox. He's an explosive tight end. There's some departures in Buffalo, and I thought I could make up some points there with Dawson Knox. And there might even be a situation where I run 2 tight ends out there. We'll see. Got Dustin Hopkins because I got to have a Knoll on my team as kicker. And then Myles Garrett, just a dominant defensive lineman. I waited on him, and I was praying that he was staying there. He ended up being there, being available for me. So that kind of shores up my team. We'll see how it pans out. Got some pretty good upside. Got a nice little projection there, but we'll see, man. There's some picks there that I'm not super, super excited about. But overall, I think it was pretty solid. And we talked about this, and we could just open up the floor now that we've talked about all the teams in depth. We've got a few more minutes here. Our drafts are always crazy. You never know what the heck's going to happen. The Yahoo gods might come in and just take the wheel and drive it for a while. A quarterback comes off super early, not named Josh Allen. Who would have thought that? I mean, Tom didn't even go to half of the fall camp, for crying out loud, and he comes off the board early. But with the Justice League, with our guys, it's a super competitive league. I love it. Love having everybody in here. It's a highlight of the year for me, especially this year with some of the media stuff that we're doing, trying to put it out there, trying to give our Justice League the best league that they deserve. It's really exciting to see guys go and get their guys. And you see that in our draft. Guys will come in with a plan, but if they've got a guy that they want, they go and they get him, and they'll spend big money on him. You know, Anthony Porterfield is a big-time buck, and he made sure that he got Jameis Winston to fit his namesake, James Crab Hunter, and he also got Brady early. You know, Mike went out there and got, Micah Parsons. He said he was going to do it. He went out there and he got him. You know, guys just get their guys. And Devo's one of my guys. I went out there and I got him. You know, Trey was sold on McCaffrey. He went out there and got him. I know, Merck, if I'm looking at your roster, there's a couple guys that I know that you really believe in. Cup is one of them. Tyreek Hill is a guy I know you love. You've had him for years. You've had Tyreek Hill, I want to say 2 or 3 times the past 5 years. And it's just like, that's your guy. And Corey has been one of the most just resourceful guys in this league for years. And he just has these picks that always come back to kind of be like genius picks. When I saw the London pick, I said, okay. And when I saw the Mooney pick, I was like, okay, that's a typical Corey pick. And he got Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, I think, is a top 4 guy. Now, we didn't have discussions at length about who he thought was a top 4 guy, but I'm pretty sure Jamar Chase was a guy that he wanted because he knows that this league is explosive, and he went out there and he got him. What do you guys think overall? I guess, Corey, we'll start with you. Just with the draft, obviously you had the hiccup. We all had a glitch with Yahoo kicking us off, and I think it burned you probably the worst. But overall with the draft, did anything shock you? Was anything surprising as far as where people were picking and how things kind of panned out?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Everything shocked me. I mean, everything. You spend months planning, and when I say we are just as much in depth as literal GMs in the league and owners and coaches, scouting for months on end before the draft, just to have it blow up in your face like that. When you see a Tom Brady come off the board as high as he does, or when you've done, I say about, at least 50 mock drafts at the very least, and you're slated to get Justin Jefferson or Dalvin Cook at the 7th spot, and they're gone immediately. And like, well, what the hell just happened? You know what I mean? All this research, all this time I put into it, it's just gone. So it's something that you can never really truly prepare for. You have to have a backup plan to the first 3 backup plans that you already had scripted. And then you hope that works out for you. And then you hope that Yahoo doesn't do what they do. But I guess that's what makes our league. And then with the 14, teams that we have, it makes it very important that you draft well, and you have to find those guys who can give you great value, especially for the bench. You know what I mean? Just in case a guy gets hurt or someone becomes a stud, maybe halfway through or later on in the year that you didn't anticipate. Like I remember our first trade, Rick, the Alvin Kamara.
Oh yeah,
he was on your radar way before I even really had a gist of who he was, and then he took off for me. Those are the things that can win you a league or bring you back into the playoff fold. So those are the type of picks that I look for myself. And especially in our league, I try to find the guys no one else is thinking about, because, you got all these guys in here and all these boxes, the ones that are not here right now, that know their stuff. So you want to make sure you get the guys with great value who can turn out to be studs, who can win you a league. So I just pray that my kicker and whoever that guy is, I got defense, man, they turn out to be hell of a guy.
Well, he's not projected to have any points right now, so we may have to.
He's already trained. I'm just waiting for the waiver wire to go through. That's it. That's how we go.
All right, Merck. How did I play this for you? Cause it's locker room special, man. So when you're speaking, how did the draft go? I know, Corey. I know you love this too. How did the draft go for you? Did anything shock you, or did it kind of go as planned? And did it affect your plan or what you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah, the draft went pretty well for me in terms of the players who I received. I will say that I was doing a lot of – I was being a fan the entire time, just wondering when the Band-Aid was going to get ripped off for certain moments. Like I was wondering, okay, when is the quarterback going to get picked? To see a quarterback get picked in the first round as early as it was, that was a ripping of the Band-Aid that I didn't really expect. I think – and Michael Langston, when he picked I think he picked –
Parsons.
Defensive player. Yeah, he picked Parsons in the third round. You know, I was just sitting there waiting. Okay, who's going to get a defensive player, and when are we going to get a defensive player? I'm thinking there's no way we're going to get a defensive guy in round 1, 2, 3, or 4. You know, and to see somebody get picked up third, okay, that I didn't expect. So that was an exciting moment for me and for the entire draft team, I think. So overall, I think it was a very exciting draft, just seeing some of those strange things take place in rounds 1, 2, and 3. And overall, I think it was a good draft.
All right, cool. You feel like you executed your plan, what you wanted to get done?
You know, I wanted to have people who I knew could get volume from a touches standpoint. So getting Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill, those are touches for me. I know I also wanted to have a running back who at least had some kind of cachet. But by the time I got to Ezekiel Elliott in the third round, all the other, you know, high volume backs had already been taken. So for those who know me, I've had Zeke a few times over the past 5 years. So Zeke is just kind of a therapeutic pick for me.
Absolutely. And I'm with you. And I'm behind Zeke. I know a lot of opinions vary, but I think highly of Zeke. So
yeah, when you look at what Zeke did his first few years in the league, there's always that person that says, you know what, he's got one more season left in him. He's got to have that one more season left. And so I'm hoping he's going to have that season for me this year.
Yeah.
And somebody else, one more pick I'm pretty excited about, Devonta Smith. I didn't really watch too many Philadelphia Eagles games, but just seeing what he did in college and seeing his potential, seeing his route running, sure-handed, just want to – and knowing that the Eagles have a lot of hope for Jalen Hurts, I'm just really, really excited to see what Devonta Smith can do. I'm hoping this could be his breakout year, and if not, I'll probably get him next year for a breakout year.
All right, man. It sounds like it's interesting takes. I always like kind of do the recap to see how you guys feel. And you guys are vets, Corey and Merck. You guys have been riding with us this is year 7. So happy that you guys keep coming back, man. I have a utmost respect for all you guys because we've grown this thing together, and it's fun to kind of take this to a new level and to do it with the guys that have been locked in, man. So I definitely appreciate you guys' insight. We'll kick this to Trey. Trey, I know you like to do a lot of stuff outside the box because you do a lot of critical kind of analysis of this. Do you feel like your draft plan was executed, and were you trying to do this much investing into, upside in your roster?
I will say yes and no. Yes, until I ran into my technical difficulties. Then once my laptop crashed, I knew it was curtains from there, and I just kind of started flying by the seat of my pants. But yeah, I did want a whole lot of upside, just especially later on, just because I know it's a 14-team league, and I mean, you just got to find value. Like you got to once you get to your later rounds, you're kind of like dumpster diving. Like, I mean, you got to find those players like, Benjamin. I know that they're likely gonna be cutting Daryl Williams out there in Arizona, so it's going to step in as that number 2. James Conner gets banged up a lot, can slide in and be an RB2. So I mean, it's just getting upside picks like that I'm just like, I don't know. That was the plan all along. Just wherever I couldn't get surefire things, go for upside. swing for the fences.
Did anything shock you in the draft?
Defensive player going third round, like God, that took me out because I had my eyes set. My whole plan was centered around getting Micah in that fourth pick to snake you in that little 4-5 turn, but you beat me to the punch. So,
well, that brings us to Mike. So, Mike, we talked a little bit about what we were thinking going into the draft, and we knew that at the drop of a hat, everything can kind of get turned on its head. Were you able to execute your draft plan, and did anything really shock you in this draft?
Well, I mean, I kind of knew. I think it went pretty close to it, but I kind of knew because when me and Rico and Trey were on the phone, I knew. I know Trey. He's conniving, so I knew he was. I knew he was going to take Micah earlier than what he was telling us on the damn phone. So I could tell him what he wanted. I tell he wanted him. So I knew I had to come up with some kind of plan. The thing is, I have to pick him there because I don't pick for like 25 picks. So if I don't get him there, I probably won't get him later. So that's why I had to take the risk of being that top pick and so I knew Trey or somebody else would probably go after Micah because he's number one. So that's what I did. Now there's a few surprises. I mean, I'm like Merck. I did not expect that many quarterbacks to go that quickly. I was thinking maybe Josh Allen would go off, but I did not expect Patty to go that quick. Tom Brady definitely not to go that quick. And then you didn't expect quarterbacks usually don't go off that fast. I mean, me and Rico have done like 50 billion mock drafts, and nobody ever takes a quarterback in a 14-team league. I do a 10-team league, but what you tell when you do 14, it's so drastically different when you do mocks for 14. Yeah. So you got to really make sure you get your value. And I was kind of like Trey. When I knew there wasn't a top guy, I was like, okay, what guy is value? Either I can trade or I know he's going to develop as the season goes on. A guy like Treylon Burks, I feel really good about him. I think he can develop into the go-to guy there as far as receiver. So you get guys that have the value that fits your team. And I also really focused on bye week stuff. I mean, I really didn't want to have guys with the same bye week, a bunch of dudes. And I think for my starting lineup, it looks really clean. I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, there's guys I would want to get. I wanted Josh Allen. Guy picked him just ahead of me. But I mean, I think there's surprises for everybody. I mean, I think there's running backs that went a little earlier than somebody wanted. You're like one pick away from getting a guy, and then bam, somebody takes them. So I think everyone has some surprises, so to speak, for I think just about every position. I was surprised in the later rounds there were guys that I thought wouldn't be there that were there, like skill guys. But I think overall, I think it pretty much went as planned.
But just looking at this, I pulled up our draft results, and I'm looking, Mike, you went Jonathan Taylor 1. Trey, you went Christian McCaffrey 2. Dalvin Cook at 3 was a little interesting. It kind of stayed away from what we had been seeing on the consensus. And then the bomb was dropped. And Coach Mark Owens, he's the one who dropped it. He called in the airstrike, and Patrick Mahomes went 4. And it's the highest a quarterback has ever gone in Justice League history, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the bomb, threw everything off. That's what slid Cooper Kupp to Merck at 5. And then Eddie wound up with Justin Jefferson, who's a top 3 player in my estimation. Right. And then it followed up with Corey grabbing Jamar Chase, who I was praying, hoping would fall to me, and he didn't. But with all the stuff going on, Derrick Henry goes number 8 to Geno. And then Austin Eckler's sitting there. And Austin Eckler is not my favorite player because I like other running backs better. But in a fantasy setting, I mean, Eckler to go 9 is kind of bananas, honestly. Right. And then someone else called it another airstrike. It's like we weren't done. Here comes another airstrike. Jameis, dials it up. Tom Brady going 10. Tom Brady going number 10. And then that leaves Joe to get Najee Harris. Great pickup there. Mario's able to get Stephon Diggs. I know Mario loves Stephon Diggs. And then Trent grabs CeeDee Lamb. It's a great back-end first-round guy. And Joe Mixon goes 14 to Macidi. And then at the turn, you got Adams, and you've got Aaron Jones, and then DeAndre Swift's another one. DeAndre Swift making it to the second round at that value spot is It's crazy. And then this is one where Joe really set his team up nicely. He got Saquon Barkley with the 4th pick in the 2nd round. So he's coming at you with Najee Harris and Saquon, man. That is a rock solid foundation. Did not expect that. I thought Saquon would have went a little earlier. In Kamara, Kelsey falls to me. I pick him up at the tight end spot. Nick Chubb goes a little late, but he goes to Geno, who loves him. Javonte Williams, that goes to Corey. I like that pick. I think by the end of the year, he's going to have taken over that backfield. Eddie lands a second beast wide receiver in Mike Evans. Same thing with Mark, with Tyreek Hill. We'll see what happens with the usage in Miami, but there's no doubt Tyreek Hill is the most explosive player in fantasy football. A great pickup and kind of a recovery from Mark. Mark went nuclear airstrike with Mahomes, the 1st pick, but then he shorted up and he got Leonard Fournette, which is a very stable back. So he kind of shored that up there to bring some normalcy back to his roster. And then Josh Allen went to Willie at the 12th pick in the 2nd round, kind of broke Mike's heart, but Mike didn't sit there and fret. Keenan Allen went to Doom at the 13th pick of the 2nd round. So he got that wide receiver 1 to counter his his RB1, maybe even RB1 overall. It depends. I mean, Taylor's probably slightly ahead of him. And then Mike went ahead and grabbed Herbert, and then at the turn grabbed Micah Parsons. That's the one right there that I think people were like, whoa. And it sparked something because Trey stayed disciplined with his draft plan and got Pittman. So he went receiver there. But then Willie went Trayvon Diggs with the 3rd pick in the 3rd round. And so then things they kind of normalized there. Nothing I'm seeing was too crazy from there. But, yeah, you never know. Justice League, we tend to have some crazy stuff. A couple airstrikes got called in. I mean, my computer, my home computer here kicked me out. I had to transition to my phone. Always got to have multiple devices because just the craziest crap happens. I don't know what happened with Corey. A team of elves or leprechauns came in there and just sabotaged him, and he's picking safeties from Detroit that are projected 0 points for the year.
You don't understand what it feels like to have a guy selected. You're pressing the draft button, and then you look at the result, and it's not who you chose. You understand me? When you're going with a running back and there's a kicker sitting on the side, you're like, wait a minute. It has you rethinking, what's in your cup at that point. I'm like,
what did I put in here?
It's a tad bit early. I only had 2.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is probably one of the craziest drafts I've been a part of in Justice League history, with all the shenanigans going on and then some of these picks, man. It was like, wow. I didn't think anyone was taking a quarterback to at least maybe the 6th, 7th round, 5th earliest. You know what I mean? I didn't think anybody was going to do that. But then again, like I say, you just never know, man. You just never know what people like. They like what they like. They're going to get them. And then they'll fill out their roster from there, and you just got to rock with it. But I promise y'all, next year, if y'all do that, I'm quitting Justice League. You better stay true to what the hell.
Hey, you gotta address that team of minions and elves that's running around your house, man. That's pulling plugs and stuff.
You have not even that, but you have a whole strategy ready to go, and then all of a sudden it's just boom, boom, boom. You're like, who the hell am I supposed to draft now? So now you're scrambling. You only got like 30-something, 40-something seconds. You're like, damn, let me find somebody else. You got a list, and then you're looking at your list. You're like, no, I shouldn't take him right here. The value's not right. I'm through with y'all. That was a stressful event. Probably I've got 5 kids, and that was one of the most stressful things I've had to endure in my life. No one in more parts of it. I'm all right.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for our Justice League 2022 draft. 14 teams. We've got IDPs. We've got explosive scoring everywhere. And as soon as we click end broadcast, I guarantee it's going to be some text messages, and we're going to have some stuff popping. The line's going to be hot. I'm going to get Merck to trade. Merck's going to trade something, even if it's a kicker. We're going to trade something, Merck.
4 weeks, no trading.
Oh, my God.
No trades.
Somebody can have Waller tonight.
Corey, what'd you say?
Somebody can have Darren Waller tonight.
There you go.
You're about to have some mail. All right, y'all. It's always a blast having you. Love y'all, boys. We're going to do another show for the Week 1 preview. Hope to bring all you guys on. It's been a great telecast, and you guys did a phenomenal job. and let the trading begin. Trey, I see that crap-eating grin on your face already.
He's a mean
Corey, I got your roster loaded up real quick.
Oh, you got mail. All right, y'all. We'll see you.
Much love, family.
Peace,
Signing
guys.
off.
Peace.